Hi, I'm Andy.
And I'm Rich.
And this is Get Gaming, the channel by two gamers with a Y for
gamers with or without a Y.
That's exactly right. And today we have another monthly math video for you. This time we're doing the month of August. It's currently the first week of September, and hopefully this video will be going up by the end of this week. So we're trying to actually be on schedule with those types of things and not get too retroactively into the past. So we're trying to get all caught up. So this is what's happening. So the month of August was a little lower than I would have liked for a couple of reasons, but it wasn't as bad as June.
Yeah.
We still got some plays in. The first week of August, we actually went on a vacation, and we didn't end up playing any games on our vacation to the north coast of California. We took games.
Yeah.
We thought about playing them, but it was too windy at the campsite.
No, and then we spent like most of the time like looking for stuff that we should have brought with us.
Right. I mean, we were only gone for a couple of days, but still. So we lost some time there. Then right after that, you went to Bodega Bay.
For a week, yeah.
Yeah, because his friend Jennifer usually rents a beach house every summer. That's kind of like their tradition that they go there to Bodega Bay every summer. So we lost almost 2 weeks of gaming time. Things picked up in the latter half of the month when we had some game days that helped us kind of, we were playing semi-consistently around.
And I did play,
absences.
actually, when I went to Bodega Bay, I did play one game twice. We played Scrabble twice.
Oh, I guess I didn't include that in my stats. But we're mentioning it now, I guess. So let's get into the monthly math itself. In the month of August, me and Rich played 20 times. And of those 20 plays, we played 15 unique games, not including things we played online. Because this month, I did a lot more BGA plays, which I'll talk about in a bit. But we played some Kahuna and some Yahtzee. And we didn't play Targi online. We played that in person. I think it was mostly Kahuna that we played online this month.
I like the implementation of that game on.
Yeah, I mean, you own a physical copy, but
Although I don't feel like the cards. It's weird. I just don't feel like the cards come out.
Yeah, the last time I played Kahuna against him, I really annihilated him for some reason. I wasn't even trying that hard. I was just getting the right cards at exactly the right time to be able to... By the end, he only had one island left, which was pretty...
And I had started out with at least 5 or 6. I mean, I had originally at one point.
I mean, it was,
I've never had that happen where, it just
either.
goes down to 1. It's like, and I'm sure given enough time, you could have gotten that one too.
Yeah, so I don't know,
Then I would be a dispossessed people.
Oh my God. I came in and took over all the islands,
I never said I was a role model.
Of course, we have our bi-weekly game day, and we were able to teach the kids Ramen Fury and Q-Birds. Was that last month we did?
No, that was last, yeah.
That was last month, but I think we taught them Ramen Fury again, and they were really into it. And then we played Koi Koi with Chong, remember? So my boss's wife, they're Korean. They're both from Korea, and they know that game as Watu, which is pretty similar. It's not exactly the same because it has plastic cards instead of the little tile things. But she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you know that game." I was like, "You're the first Americans I've ever met who even know even adjacent to that game." So we actually got to play the traditional Asian card game with an Asian person, so that was pretty fun. And of course, we were playing Tussie Mussy. We played a lot of things just once or twice. So on some of the most played stuff, I mean, we only played Tussie Mussy 3 times. I think one of those was me playing it solo. So
I mean, I probably would say I remember playing it many times.
And I feel like we've been playing Wild Space a lot, but we only played it 3 times in the month of August. But it was spread evenly across the weeks.
Yeah,
but it was still only 3 times.
September.
We dusted Meadow off the shelf. So I played it solo once, and we played it once again together because I was like, you got to keep the rotation for what is one of my top 5 games, which our top 11 video, we just filmed it and is coming out soon, by the way. Probably next week.
Meadow was in your top 5?
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to give away which number it was at for people that haven't seen the video yet. But if you're interested in that, probably, stay tuned. And we only played Fort twice. And it felt like we played it more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Time is blurring. I feel like July feels like it was only a month ago, which it was. But I mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff, I feel like July and August blurred into 1 month for me somehow. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it does that.
That's how time works, I guess. It's, doesn't progress at a constant rate. Well, I mean, I guess it does, but not really.
Not really.
Not really. So you may be wondering, okay, well, what did I spend most of my time playing? Because my total plays for the month was 126. So I played 90 games on BGA. 5 of those were with Rich. And I only played 11 solo games. So that was only about 40-ish in-person plays for me in the month, as opposed to 90 on BGA. And I think the reason to that was because I was playing a lot of new games on BGA, because there's a lot of games coming out or new implementations that have come out that I wanted to try. But I did want to talk about some of our new to us games. We only played one new to us game in August, and that was Exploring the Galapagos, Button Shy's latest release. I want to try it at multiple players because, it's fine. It's a light 18-card game. But, there's a discussion on the Button Shy Discord from one particular guy that was crunching Excel sheets about this. He thinks the game is imbalanced and there's different ways to score. And basically in the game, you're exploring the Galapagos, right? You're supposed to be like a nature photographer or whatever. And it's basically a drafting game, essentially, and you're trying to curate your hand in order to score for either, I think it's time, zone, or the different kinds of animals on your card. And what's interesting is there's mutual drafting and competitive drafting. So there's a shared hand that you have in addition to your hand. So you're not just curating your own hand, but the shared tableau that's going to determine the ways that you can score. And so his argument was that you could score an average of 6 for the animals generally every time, and the same thing for the zones. But he said time will get you 10, 11, twice as many points practically every single time, in his opinion. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of played half of a game. I wanted to test his theory at 2, and I was like, oh, yeah, when you do time, you're scoring for everything that's on the card, not just one part of it. So there's 3 different categories, and the other 2 ways of scoring, you only score for one part of the card. When you score for time, you get to count everything on the card. Yeah. So it's kind of imbalanced, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily a game-breaky thing, or if that's just something, once you figure that out, there's some kind of strategy that involves that. That's what you're always trying to go for. So I want to try it at 3. It plays up to 5, which most of the Button Shy games are either solo or 2-player games, or play best at that number. Mm-hmm. So I want to play it at a higher player count and see. I mean, I was really excited for it because I really love the theme. We love marine iguanas, so any game with marine iguanas in it, it's got to be cool.
Even and even ones with blonde hair.
Yeah, the way the art for the iguana does make it. Every time I look at it, I'm like, wait, what is that? Is that a lizard in a wig? No offense against whoever the artist was for that, but it's just every time we're big, I guess lizard fans is the best way to describe it. So, and there's other animals, obviously, in the game. There's bats and monkeys and birds and things. The jury's still out on that one. And then the other Button Shy game, I tried a solo Button Shy that was new to me this month, which was Ugly Griffin Inn, which is one of the more popular ones that gets mentioned.
Is that a solo?
Yeah, it's solo only, and it's got this cute kind of D&D theme going on. If you've never played it, it's you're running an inn, a disreputable inn, and you have different guests that are trying to come, and you're trying to make sure that certain guests aren't annoying other guests, and the goal by the end of the game is to keep as many guests in your inn as possible. Mm-hmm. And they all have different likes and dislikes and things, and so it's this not a very hard puzzle, but it's just thematically it's very fun and light. So the games that I tried on BGA, I tried this game called Arctic Scavengers, which is a deck builder skirmish kind of game. Technically, it's got this post-apocalyptic, like a new ice age is set in kind of theme.
Not here, it doesn't.
It basically didn't really do anything particularly new that really stood out to me as a deck builder. And, it's a lot of, you're trying to get certain resources and you're battling with the other characters. And, there's a lot of hand management in that game. It was okay. And then I tried this one called Jump Drive, which I think just came out or is about to come out, which is basically kind of like Baby's first race to the galaxy, for anyone that knows that game, which I guess this is supposed to be like the intro level version of it. It's not really that different than Race to the Galaxy. It just has less symbology, essentially, which that's one of the big learning curves in that particular game. It's sort of like, like with Fort or something like that. It's just a bunch of symbols, and if you don't know what all the symbols are and what they do, it's all about card interaction in that particular game.
Honestly, if Fort provides like a little sheet to each player so they can review them, but without that, I think that game would, because you'd just be like,
I haven't never played
we
Race.
Played it a bunch of times and we still don't know the symbology.
Well, I was just trying to compare, because obviously you haven't played that game. These are all games that he hasn't played that I played. If you like Race to the Galaxy, I'm not sure why you would play Jump Drive, but if you wanted to kind of slowly introduce someone to that game, because it can be kind of confusing at first. And then I played Sulkin, TC, and I guess that's from the same makers as Teotihuacan and Praetor, and you have like these wheels, these resource wheels that are constantly spinning. I wasn't very good at it, mind you. Of course, I didn't win any of these games because I'm still like kind of learning them and trying them for the first time. But that one was interesting. It has some similarities to Teotihuacan, which it's essentially worker placement, but it's one of those things where you put the meeple on the wheel and you have to leave it on, and when you take it off, you get to take a certain action off the wheel. But the longer you leave it on, the more juicy the action is when you take it off.
You played that one online?
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think for you, I'd want to try Teotihuacan first, because I think you would find that more similar to Praetor. But this one is a little bit lighter than that. It's not super heavy mechanically. It was interesting. It took me a while to figure out, when I take stuff off the wheel, I'm waiting for it to get to a certain spot so I can maximize what I'm getting, because there's a fixed number of turns in the game. You have a fixed number of meeples. Oh, I have wine right here. By the way, these are some plants, new babies that Jamila, I've adopted from Jamila. So I have a little porous plant here. I think this is some kind of snake pit. So these guys are going to be...
That's an aloe vera. That one.
No, this isn't an aloe vera.
Looks like it.
No, the aloe vera has flatter leaves with spikes. This is a type of snake plant. It's just a different species or variety, I guess. So these are added to my other collection. So I have the board game collection and I have the plant collection. So these will be there. So they're just here to kind of hang out with us. So I tried Garden Nation. That one was interesting. Lighter than I was expecting it to be. It's basically just area control, and that's pretty much it. And then I played Barren Park, which Phil Walker Hardy, praise be, your new favorite designer. So this is the one, it's basically New York Zoo, but instead of different animals, it's like a bear park, and they're all bears. So
I mean, I haven't seen it actually in the stores. Have you?
I haven't seen it in as many game stores here. I've heard a lot about it. I think it's a little older. Like, it's at least a couple of years older, but a lot of people I know compare it to New York Zoo, and now having played it, I kind of see the comparison, but I think it's a little crunchier, slightly.
This one you played online also, so
yes, all these I played on
I could go try that one, because I would like to compare
I think you'd like it.
See.
I think you'd like Garden Nation. I think you might find Sulkin a little confusing at first. I think Barren Park and Garden Nation are two that you might get into.
Yeah.
Then I also played this game called Souloween, which is an abstract game, and it's kind of like a combination of Mancala and Tic-Tac-Toe, with these little ghost things that you're flipping, these little tiles. I don't know, I thought it was kind of dumb. Anyway, if we're looking for games for spooky season, you can check that one out, because the whole idea is you're supposed to be you're supposed to be ferrying the souls through the afterlife.
That sounds it sounds like Umbra Via, and it's like, oh
yeah, and you have
God.
these different asymmetrical character objectives. Like if you're playing as Anubis, you have a certain thing you want to do. If you're playing as, I forget what it was, but it's, I think, the Chinese gods of the afterlife or something like that. So as these, depending which character you play as, you have different kinds of patterns you're trying to make. Soul-a-ween. Like Halloween, but soul.
Not solo or Soul-a-ween.
Like
S-O-U-L.
Like your soul.
Oh my God.
A-ween.
A-ween.
Anyway. And then I played Turn and Taxis, which is a German knockoff of Ticket to Ride. That's basically what it is. But instead of trains, you're creating postal routes in 19th century Habsburg Germany. So, but I don't know. I thought it looked like one of those. It looked like a slightly Euro-y take on Ticket to Ride, but it wasn't that particularly that interesting to me. There's some element with card curation that I wasn't quite understanding with it, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of very Ticket to Ride-esque, and I'm really over Ticket to Rides. We've had our Ticket to Ride phase.
I never really. Yeah, I mean, it was okay a little bit, but
I mean, it's still a decent
frustrating game. Though.
I don't know that it's frustrating, but
no,
I just
you have like you only need a particular color, and if you don't get it,
sure.
you could be going. And you're playing with a bunch of other people, so you have to wait for your turn. You could go several turns in which nothing is happening, and you're not really.
I think the strategy in that game, because it's very Rummy-esque, because you're basically trying to get a certain number of colors to build a certain amount of train tracks, right?
Right.
And you have your different private objectives for different routes you're trying to do. And a big part of the strategy is either getting really long routes, like for Canada, or at least we've only played the base version of the game. We haven't played any of the Nordic countries or the Japanese one or any of those other maps. And so for that, I think a big part is that you want to hold on to a certain number of cards and you want to get wild cards as much as possible. So
it's true.
You can't it's one of those games where you don't want to blow all the cards in your hand all at once, because it's going to take you more time to build up enough cards to then build something else. And timing is very important in that game.
It is.
So it's not a bad game at all. I'm just saying,
we
played it
like
so
there's
much.
Enough happening in the game.
Yeah, there's something about it that's just kind of like, it's not stimulating enough.
It's not stimulating enough for me either.
And then the last new game I played on BGA this month was Get On Board, New York and London, which is I guess it's a reskinning of a Japanese game called Get On Board. So, which is you're creating bus routes. But it's like the original is a roll and write, so it's like you're drawing in bus routes. It's kind of like the Japanese version of Railroad Inc., kind of, was my impression of it. And this version that's coming out on beta, and I think they're releasing the physical version either soon or they just released it at Gen Con. That was interesting. I realized that I was very confused about what I was trying to do in the game at first, because it's one of those games where you have certain objectives, certain routes you're trying to do, or certain spots you're trying to hit. You're trying to get your bus route to certain locations so that you can meet certain objective criteria. And I didn't realize if my bus route looped back on itself, I would get myself kicked out of the game, which is what happened. And I realized, I need to plan ahead more and understand what it is I'm actually trying to do in this game. But it's it was kind of on the level of just clicking around until I figured it out, which isn't always the best strategy for learning a game.
It's not the best strategy for winning a game. It's a pretty good strategy for learning the game.
Getting to know what's going on with it. One of the other games, I haven't finished it yet, but I started it this month, was Barrage, which I kind of started off as okay, I need to actually read the rule book before I get any deeper into this game, because I was trying to navigate the implementation of it, and it was very confusing at first, so I had to read through a whole tutorial of it before I was like, okay, I really have to understand what I'm trying to get done in this game in order to even know what to do on my turn kind of thing. But it's basically just action, worker placement kind of thing, and I think that's also a game you might enjoy. So maybe that's another game we could try online together. I think I'm over here on BGA trying all these new and different games, and I realized okay, we're not pulling the trigger on buying as many physical copies of games lately unless we're sure that it's something we're going to be playing.
Money been a little tight.
That's right. We should be playing some of these new games together, too, if you're actually going to play more on BGA with me.
Yeah, I think that might be the way to go. Besides that, there are times when you buy a game like New York Zoo. I just had to have that game. It's just like, oh, there's something about it.
And we thought about it for a while.
Yeah, and I had to have it. But I mean, in general, it's probably a good idea to try a game as long as they're on there.
And that's why I said there's some games I'm always playing on BGA that I know I just need to have a physical copy of, like A Feast for Odin, Castles of Burgundy, Glow, because I always have a game of those going on basically all the time on BGA, and it's to the point where I'm like, I should just get physical copies of them to play with you.
Although, I mean, we could do a whole program on that, because I feel like there's certain games that you could probably just get away with playing them on. I shouldn't say that, but I mean, I can think of one in particular.
The idea behind BGA, of course, is that it's not supposed to replace playing physical copies of the games. It's supposed to be a way for you to play games with people you can't physically be with, right? Yeah. And that's why most of the people I play with on BGA are people from the Discord who live in Canada or Germany or Australia, and that's kosher. But technically, me and you, we're not supposed to, two people just playing in the same room. It's basically we're just trying to play the games for free without buying them, right? So it's like,
what's wrong with that?
But some of these games definitely I would want to buy them to help,
to make other people, wealthier.
Like Uwe Rosenberg. We want him to be wealthy.
I'm sure he is doing fine
in his Crystal Palace. And Phil Walker Harding is, living in his sand castle down by the sea.
Ooh.
I'm sure he's hanging out at the beach. Doesn't he live in that part of Australia?
Oh, is he from Australia?
Oh, you betcha, mate.
All right, well, we'll have to go visit him.
Those are all our monthly stats. Everything we played in the month of August. Oh, I should ask, what was your favorite gaming experience of August?
He's
trying to look behind him.
I'm looking behind me.
Wild Space? Fort? Me finally beating you at Fort? That was my favorite gaming experience.
I'll bet. I don't think I did that well in August. I didn't win a lot of games.
I didn't know.
Like I said, I lost Scrabble twice. In Bodega Bay, Jennifer won both times, and honestly...
Didn't you win when we played Meta, though? You did.
Did I?
Yeah, and I think you won when we played Wild Space a couple of times, too.
I know I win Wild Space.
And you won when we played Targi, and he was upset that he won at Targi because he didn't complete his tableau of 12 cards, and I did, and he felt like I should have been the winner. But you won fair and square.
I still feel that you should have been the winner because he completed his tableau.
But that's not the only aspect of that game. It's not just completing the tableau, but it's the amount of points and scoring things you have on those cards.
Sometimes I do think sometimes the games get a little point driven, a lot of them.
Point salad.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, although there's times when it's like in Wild Space, that's okay.
Well, what about Summer Camp? That's basically a point salad.
Oh, I know that one's a point salad, but what makes that fun is getting the little patches like you would get if you were really...
So you like the achievements. You feel like you earned it if you get the achievements, not just the zero sum of a certain amount of points.
Right. Earning those little badges is its own thing.
I mean, it's a good question. If you're playing a game, do you want the game to be about a particular goal you're trying to achieve? Or is it just getting more points than the other person?
See, that doesn't interest me as much.
Interesting. Well, as we play more Euros, I think that will be an interesting thing, because a lot of Euros are like that. It's just about getting the point salad, getting all the points, but some of them do have, you need to complete a particular thing in order to trigger the end of the game.
Well, I thought, and it's been a long time since we played it, but that's one of the things that I did like about Stardew Valley, is that it's very, you've got to...
Grandpa's goals.
You've got to do
That's the point of the game, and... That's interesting. Something I'm thinking about as I'm playing more of these like worker placement kind of games where it's really just about getting points and not necessarily about, some of them you're building things. right? Like in Praetor, you're building the city of Rome. In Barrage, you're trying to build like a network of, water management. It's like, well, at least I'm doing something. It's not just about, okay, I'm doing a bunch of different stuff, and if I just choose the right balance of things to do, I'll get enough points to win. I think that can be interesting for the juggling and maintenance of it and figuring out how to, okay, if I do a bunch of this, but also get a little bit of this to give me a buffer. Like, I feel like Praetor's like that. It's very point salad once you get a certain amount of tiles built. And so it'll be interesting to see the more you play those style of games, how you feel about that down the road.
Okay, so like we just played Praetor recently, and
just the other night.
The one thing that I can say about those point salad games is that it goes back and forth more. Like, I actually thought you were going to win. And I know you thought you were going to win too. And then I just kind of snuck up at the end.
And yeah, it's true. And
so if you like that kind of game where it's like you can just be kind of
bide your time.
Yeah, biding your time and then pounce, then those point salad games can be the best.
Well, that's what happened in Targi, I think.
Yeah.
And you didn't even realize that it was going to be that case, but it ended up in the end you just had enough points through other things to be able to overcome me. So
and Targi feels a little less like it's just about points. I don't know. You're really, because you're
focused on building that tableau.
Yeah, and also and there's chaining going on with those tiles as well, because
in Targi.
Yeah, because they give you advantages and stuff. So
yeah, there's a little bit of engine building in the particular kinds of tribe cards you're going to get, and you also want to think about the order of operations a lot of times in Targi.
I do like that. Yeah, I like that.
The same thing in Praetor. It's similar thing. Okay, if I want to go to this tile first, so that I have the resources to maximize what I can get from going to this next action space, and so you can maximize what you're able to get done.
I just like okay, so like I guess my favorite kind of game is one, like I said, it's similar to like Horrified, or I was thinking about, we haven't played it in a long time, and we were kind of not sure how much we liked it.
What, Horrified?
Mass Transit.
Oh, Mass Transit.
But I do like the idea that it's you've got to get those 6 commuters home. Isn't there 6?
Yeah, so in Mass Transit, for those of you that aren't familiar with that game, you're basically, the idea is you start with 6 meeples in the center tile of the city, and you're trying to build out different train and bus routes to get them to the suburbs. So that's the whole point of the game. It's co-op.
See, I think that, it just comes back to the fact that I really like co-ops, because I like the having to work on a common goal together. Agree. That's just
very satisfying when you can accomplish it.
It is.
And it makes you, in games like that, you don't have downtime the same way you can have in a lot of those competitive games where we're both working together, so we're both equally involved the whole time. So as long as no one is trying to dominate the whole thing,
I guess,
and quarterback it,
yeah,
then that can maybe take away your sense of agency. But if you feel like you're equal partner and have full agency in a co-op game, it can be a really rewarding experience.
Yeah. So
this was a very long tangent. I'm sorry.
I know it was, but it's just like it is an interesting thing that you have choices in the games you play, and they're pretty stark sometimes.
So get down in the comments, guys. Let us know some of the games you played in the month of August. And I don't know, I guess you could also weigh in on, what do you like better? Do you think you like more point salad-y games, or do you like games where you're trying to complete some kind of goal? And if you are playing a game like that, do you prefer to work on a goal together in a co-op game, or do you want to work competitively on achieving your own goal before other people can? So feel free to let us know what kinds of those games fall into those categories that you might suggest that we might like. We're always open to suggestions.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, I do a lot of research trying to find new games all the time, but to introduce to Rich. So please drop those recs in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notification bell so you can get notified when we release new videos like this one. And until next time, we bid you adieu. And remember, be gay, do crime, and
don't get caught.
Get
gay men.
It was an interesting little area control. He's getting something out of the fridge. I'm gonna wait for him. Oh my God. We're with you, I should say. Who am I addressing at this point? I'm not even sure. So that one was interesting.
Continue. I'm going to go get some sparkling
You don't even
water.
none of this even matters to you because this is all me playing on
some sparkling
playing
water.
on BGA and doing this stuff. Well, no.
Yes.
Get
gaming. Get gaming. Isn't that it? I forget.
One more time.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah. Pass the ammunition and the wine. That's it.
Show over. Go home.